have any formal intro for this, but we'll pretty much kick off the recording. Alex Southey and the Country Stirred. Good to have you. Welcome to my show, sir. Everyone, round of applause.
Thank you so much. I appreciate coming on. I admire watching your videos, and I admire your work ethic as well. Actually.
Oh, it's been a fun venture. Tough to get much traction talking about alternative music, but
sure. But it means a lot to the artists anyway.
Yeah, it's nice to find some of these artists that can appreciate it, I guess, and stuff.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Just like yourself, we connected about a year ago, I guess, with sophomore album.
It was about a year, but we had no idea what was going to come.
Yeah, just before it all hit.
Yep.
And what a year it's been. And so this album, pretty much a pandemic album. You were kind of starting up the initial stages of it, and then COVID hit, right?
Pretty much. I had like some of the songs written, or at least I probably had all of the songs written to some extent, but then only when I'm kind of finishing them up do I kind of really dig into what the arrangement is. So my point is I had the skeleton of the album kind of at that point, and I had just found a producer for it, I think. But you and I were talking about my last album. They kind of overlapped the beginning and the end of each one.
Yeah, last time we spoke, so John Critchley, and recently you got in touch with him, and that was a big turning point with this album compared to your first two, right?
Yes, 100%. The first one was basically like, anyone could make that album. You know what I mean? Anyone with a guitar and some will could make that album. Mm-hmm. And by that I mean it wasn't very much, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just using the GarageBand in Mac and that kind of thing, and pairing it with my songwriting. So anyway, it's been an interesting thing that each album you can hear that I'm getting better at mixing, and finally I just took the jump and asked a professional to do it. But the first two albums, it was definitely a big jump, I would say, because I learned a lot between those first two albums, but getting a real producer, somebody who really has a history in Canadian music, but especially alternative kind of folkier stuff with Dan Mangan, it made a lot of sense to go with him.
Yeah, what are some of the notable names from John Critchley? Dan Mangan, you mentioned?
Yeah, he would be probably the biggest one now, but Elliott BROOD was another really big artist, and still is, but more so in the sort of late 2000s, I would say. And definitely a few others that you recognize, plus his own band, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Canadian artists, I want to jump off topic quickly. I've got to mention Matthew Good.
Okay.
You heard about this?
No.
There's been...
sorry, yes.
The allegations.
I misremembered the name. Yes.
Oh,
with
yeah.
Haley Mathers, right?
I think that must have been the woman,
That's her, yeah.
And my God, man, I was stunned. I mean, I don't know. It's tough to hear that, man. I mean, you a fan of Matthew Good?
No,
you weren't. I'm
guess
surprised.
I'm okay, because
Surprised.
I've kind of done the Canadian industry dirty in that I up until recently didn't listen to a ton of what I was essentially making music close to. So I don't know. Is Matthew Good alternative rock? Is it acoustic?
Matthew Good, I remember back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, kind of had some radio play. But we would have been a bit younger at that point. But and then he had if you looked into his bigger hits, you might recognize a couple of these. And he's kept it going over the years. And he's just been a pretty big staple in Canadian alternative rock music.
I see. Okay.
Great voice, and he's known for being a bit of a troubled kind of songwriter, and a very thoughtful kind of guy with a lot of, I don't know, inner turmoil kind of coming out within his music, like a lot of these artists. And then to find out now, years later, he's well beyond his peak as, popularity, and now this is coming out. And it's and his career's over now. It's like, he was dropped by his label. Pretty tough.
I mean, we have no reason not to believe the woman, right? So
I get
that innocent until proven guilty, but at the same time, I don't know how she'd benefit, because like you said, his peak is over. It doesn't even really make sense to me. But so I believe her personally. But
no, I wasn't. I just kind of wanted to see
I know you weren't saying that you don't. You were just kind of giving me context on him.
It's just tough to see an artist you liked like that kind of just be like ripped down. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, well. So.
Yeah, I see that. I guess it's just. I heard this from somebody. I forget who said it, but it was on a podcast. But they were like, really think about it. Who has lost their career that didn't deserve it?
Yeah.
I actually can't really think of anyone. So I don't know. We're weeding them out as we go, I guess, and it's better late than never. Yeah,
man.
I get that would be a hit to the scene, but you know what? That just makes room for people who are good.
Hey.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Good way to look at it.
Yeah.
All right, back to your music. So I wanted to go through like a kind of chronological order of how this was all unveiled, because it was less than a year ago I was writing up a review for your sophomore album, but before that you had already released Don't as a kind of a standalone single all the way back in June last year, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just wasn't sure where it was gonna sit, really. I had it, I guess, around I wasn't really sure what my PR plan should be for whatever my next thing would eventually be. I'm very much a newbie in that regard, and so eventually meeting and working with Auteur Research, and then eventually Julie Booth just a little bit on the side, kind of unofficially, both have really, really helped me a lot in terms of how to navigate. Like, I can do the making music thing. It's difficult to how to release it to give it its best life and like chance with different people and listeners. So it all needs. So I guess to answer your question, Don't came out before I had a plan, which is why I kind of yanked it back off when I had a real plan and an album to promote.
Okay. So sorry, you put it out.
No, that was long. Long story short, I put it out, and then I decided, no way, I want this to be part of a thing, so I'm gonna take it back down. Yeah.
So you took it down after putting it out as a single? Is that what you're saying? Or?
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. And I kind of, I regret doing it that way. It was a mistake, essentially. I have no problem admitting that, but you know, you just learn as you go.
Yeah, maybe I just noticed it through your Instagram that it came out earlier, but I don't know if on Spotify, I guess it's not still available as a single from June on Spotify anymore, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's an interesting...
I just wanted it all a little more organized, basically. I didn't release it as a single, so people coming to this stuff now, having no idea that is what I did, then it all just looks normal to them.
Yeah, it's a little out of place, I guess, in the...
Yeah, exactly.
Up to it. And that was when you kind of grouped up with, that was Auteur Research?
Yep, exactly. They're a PR group that has done work for, you know, tons of Canadian artists you recognize, from Arkells to...
Yeah, I was looking at their page.
Yeah.
They've got a whole bunch going.
Yeah, definitely in good company to be there.
Cool, man. What other PR do you have for helping get out your stuff?
Nothing besides that, besides kind of eventually striking up a friendship with Julie Booth, who runs her own thing called Freshly Pressed PR.
Yes.
She was a freelance PR person and then is now on retainer, I think, with Paper Bag Records.
Okay.
So she's great. She just took a liking to my music. I mean, this is truly like where opportunity meets luck to create something, right? Like it's luck that she's interested, but I did work to make it an opportunity by having music ready for her to check out or whatever. So, but yeah, I guess I have a new EP that's going to come out in summer, hopefully, and she's helping me with the PR finally officially on that.
All right, cool. New music already, huh?
New music, and I'll give you another one. There's a Rosie music video coming out that I just got sent the final draft of. Okay. There you go.
Who's so you have video creators behind these videos for you, right? Like.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not well, first of all, we couldn't really film anything safely with actually other people. So both of
Yeah.
the music videos that are the main ones, which was On the Dance Floor, which was made by Linda Badgley, who's an up-and-coming filmmaker in New York, but officially from Canada. And this new one is being made by Margarita Brighton, and she's worked with Canadian artists like Nap Eyes and a few other ones that I can't remember right now. But yeah.
Hey,
maybe
good
Weather
little-
Station as well, but yeah.
Okay. More kind of
Definitely-
like a stock footage kind of video thing, or
Yes,
footage?
because it's kind of serving as a companion piece to the On the Dance Floor one, which is also stock vintage footage. The difference though is that one is supposed to elicit kind of the lyrics On the Dance Floor, obviously, and kind of bring them to life. But Rosie is about Vancouver, so I wanted the footage to include, you know, Margarita had the great idea to include the Rockies, and I wanted mountainous things with, you know, trees and whatever, stuff that would remind you of Vancouver. So you'll see that. Yeah.
Well, let's get to On the Dance Floor. That was the official lead single. And yeah, I find it interesting to see that you put Don't out and then you kind of realized, you know what, this is going to be a part of the album, right? Like at some point.
Exactly. It wasn't the sparkly one that I wanted to release for a single. It was this, I would instead insert it as kind of a breather track almost.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's because yeah, putting Don't as the lead single On the Dance Floor has that lead single kind of quality to it, I'd say. And you talked about, it's about dating in Toronto, experiencing nightlife in a nostalgic rose-tinted glasses kind of way.
Definitely. It's each verse kind of vaguely follows three different types of dating experiences that we all kind of experience at this point. So, you know, I forget which order they're in, but it's basically like people who've been in a committed relationship, people who have a missed connection, like, oh, where is that person that I kind of flirted with at that point, or had a one night stand and I won't ever see them again. And the other one is kind of a first date thing. But yeah, it's all meant to, you know, I name check the Danforth and stuff like that. So it's definitely for Toronto. Yeah.
Lots of little Toronto tidbits in there. The Danforth, something that would go over my head.
Right, yeah, well, true, yeah, of course.
But it fits, I like it. And I think, I remember when I first heard it, it came back out in September. And this was just kind of recently for me after kind of getting into your sophomore album. And the sound, this is the first, you're saying, with John Critchley, right? Producing. Sophomore was not, it was just all you. And you can really feel the fullness in the sound. I feel like one thing I wanted to say was like the second album, your sophomore, was like a guy with a guitar and a piano and stuff. And this album is like feeling like a singer-songwriter with, and the voice, man, I'm feeling there's a lot, I feel like you got more denseness to it. And so there's a real bigger feeling to this album, and you feel that throughout.
That's very flattering and nice to hear, frankly.
I like this direction you're headed in.
Good. Well, you know, it's a bit of a pivot that's coming next, but
all right.
But hopefully you like that too. You know, I only want to do stuff that interests me, and in the end. So, now it's sort of a weird thing. Now it's almost like I really like the album. It's cool that you like it. Other people who have listened to it really like it. So I kind of feel like, why do it again? It's like the opposite of the AC/DC thing. I like AC/DC, but it wouldn't interest me to be in that band. You know what I mean? With those lack of creative choices. So now that I've done it, I'm a little bit just like, okay, cool.
Ready to try something new.
There we go. That's over. Yeah, exactly. But it's a little odd to me though that I'm going to go through this period without really playing.
I feel like, and I don't want to sound cliche by saying you found your voice, and that's the thing with artists, like as much as you want to try and change, you're always going to be Alex Southey. And I feel like on this album, the voice is more prominent, and I hear it, and yeah, I feel like it's got that uniqueness to it, and it's a stamp on your music in a way. So no matter what you do in the future, it's still going to be you singing. So I always find that interesting. Yeah, you can change up the instrumentals and the genre even, but
That's
it'd still
almost
be you.
why I'm leaning towards saying singer-songwriter instead of folk or whatever. Because
Yeah.
singer-songwriter, you can be anything. Like, I bet in some algorithms, the guy from Tame Impala is probably called a singer-songwriter.
Yeah,
even
for
though
sure.
You wouldn't call that singer-songwriter at all, right?
Yeah.
Or, you know, so I think it makes a little more sense to stick with something that's a little general, even if it's a little less sexy.
And what's not a singer-songwriter, I guess, Water Tower, band from LA. You've been hooking up with those guys. They supplied some fiddle and pedal steel on some of these songs.
Yeah, well, Water Tower, they're a bluegrass band in LA, and I fell in love with them because of the album that the lead singer did that was a cover of the My Bloody Valentine album, their biggest one. And I finally reached out to them on Instagram, and we fell in love with each other's music, essentially. I got to hear what they were working on, and pretty well immediately I just asked them, yeah, I'd love to add some of this kind of flavor to these songs that I'm working on.
That's awesome.
They were into it.
Yeah, good connection, man. And are they on?
Super nice people, so it was just great.
Are they on throughout the album, pretty much?
They are on, I would say the majority of it, certainly. There are a few songs they're not on, but yeah, if you hear fiddle or lap steel or kind of the noise, the kind of noise, then that's them / me with their noise.
Yeah. You're all the guitar, you're all the piano.
Yeah, I'm like everything except those two things, basically.
Okay. There's some other instrumentation I'll ask about later on.
Sure, yeah.
But so then we got
mandolin as well.
Oh, okay. They're mandolin as well, Water Tower?
They are mandolin, yes.
Cool. Well, good connection.
Yeah.
And then Caught You on the Throat in November.
Yeah.
What do you want to say about that one?
That was the first. I really fell in love with that one a lot. I remember as soon as I wrote it and I just had the chords and the overall vocal melody, I would just walk around my apartment playing it and singing different things. That's kind of how I write anyway. But I just really enjoyed it a lot. I guess I don't feel any shame saying that. It's nice when you kind of surprise yourself with this thing. And that's what that was. It was the same way with On the Dance Floor. I was in the middle of talking to my friends, and I just started playing this chord progression. I was like, okay, that sounds pretty good. Anyway, with Caught You on the Throat, it was just basically, I thought, okay, here is a totally cooked, baked, ready to go thing. What do I want to throw on it? And that's my favorite part of songwriting.
Yeah.
You have the skeleton, and then you get to decide what kind of clothes you put on it.
Cool. It's the opener, and I think it's one of the best examples on the album of the step you've taken from between albums. Good full song.
That was partially the point. I wanted to immediately, with a strong footing, just be like, it kind of serves as a general representation of what the album sounds like as well. And also by opening with that noise and then it kind of sounding so full with the guitar because of John Critchley's mixing and stuff, it's just immediately, if you were listening on Spotify and my last album ended and this one began, you would notice the difference, I would say.
Yeah. Vocals, you record them all at your place?
Yep, you're looking at the stuff
right in there, huh? Yeah. And you do a bit of
I don't have it padded or anything. It honestly sounds like crap, but somehow it sounds all right on the finished record. I guess in the chaos of everything else going on in the songs, you don't really hear it. You just hear my voice, which is the point.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, your voice is not isolated, I guess, but it's not like there's a lot going on around it, but it does sound super clean, and you overlap it a bit. You do like layers.
Oh, definitely,
right?
Lots of stuff. Yeah. Sorry, this is gonna be kind of funny, but I need to go turn off the oven quickly.
Turn off the oven.
Yeah.
Give us a tour.
But yeah, I definitely do. I layer stuff quite often. I would rather layer almost than if I do a vocal and it's really bad, then I will definitely redo it. But at the same time, I almost think it adds a really nice flavor when I am really close every time, but not nailing it. And then I get to put all of those different takes together, and it creates almost like a tapestry of something that sounds really interesting and will always have a unique character because it's made up of things that I haven't done the same way twice. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's pretty hard to explain while I was taking that out of the oven, but
you got it.
All right. Okay, I'm back.
Nice place. And you released Caught You on the Throat with a cover song, Paul McCartney's Wings. And I'll tell you, I compared the two, and I never knew the original. I listened to Wildlife from you, and then was like, oh, who's this? And Wings sounds familiar, and checked it out. And you took their long version, put it a bit shorter, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Why'd you choose that song as a cover?
I just fell in love with it, and I also just wanted to give a little something extra to anybody who is interested in my music, and just be like, here's another thing that I really think is cool. And partially for that reason, I mean, you didn't know the song. I didn't know the song. I don't think a lot of people know the song, which is extra reason to do it. I think it's great in general, so people should check it out.
Yeah, a little influence, I guess. Paul McCartney.
McCartney's definitely an influence. I'd say more his solo stuff than any Beatles stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah.
His album Ram is definitely a massive.
All right. Yeah. And then we got to Rosie, number 3 of the singles in January. And I noticed you said this is your favorite of the singles. You said by far your favorite of the singles.
Yeah, this was a difficult one to write. I guess if you are listening to it, you can hear there are kind of 3 distinct sections, and there are always sections to songs, obviously, but this was definitely a bit of a Frankenstein situation where the chorus chords were initially the verse chords, and the verse chords that you hear in the final version were the chorus chords, and all of these things I just kept kind of folding back over, and how do I want to do it, and how long, blah blah blah, and finally this Frankenstein, but beautiful Frankenstein came to be. And so I do like it, I think, because it was a little bit difficult to write, but at the same time on the dance floor took me so little time, and I also love when that happens.
Yeah, for sure. Is Rosie anyone in particular?
No, I mean, I could say that it's like composite of some of the women that I knew in Vancouver, but really it's more about Vancouver itself. It's about the place and the kind of attitude that you think Vancouver has, well, you might find this interesting, I mean, because you're living there. Like, I find that Vancouver promises more to outsiders than it can actually deliver on, to an extent. Like, you get there and it is 100% as beautiful as they said it would be, but it's isolating, and it's not the best for social, communal stuff, in my opinion. You know, not compared to Toronto anyway. There's a lot I could say about Toronto, but that is one thing that is lacking in Vancouver, and it kind of, so I just basically considered it this thing that sells itself well, and then when you get there, it's just holes.
Do you mention any particular Vancouver themes in the song?
English Bay is in the first.
Okay, yes. I was thinking there's
first verse.
Yeah. Huh. And you call it the musical tentpole of the album in a way. So, and I can see what that means. Just kind of big support beam kind of within the album.
Definitely. Exactly. That's exactly it. It's a support beam. Exactly. I would say it's fundamental to the character of the album. How about that?
Cool. It's definitely, big. I mean, the first 4 songs with Don't in there, I guess that kind of groups into me the singles of the album, the first taste, and then the others move into kind of deep cut territory in a way.
You are exactly right.
Yeah.
You are exactly right.
Cool. And before we get into the other songs, I like how you released these little voice memos on your Instagram for some of the songs.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great idea to kind of, for yourself, so you record yourself on your phone in the early stages of constructing a song, and just talk to your future self about it, right? So you can go back and revisit it and hear a song.
the point of talking to myself is for context, because there's nothing worse than putting down an idea and then you come back to it 3 months later and you go, I don't understand what this was for. You need to talk to yourself and remind yourself, okay, this is for the chorus of the thing and it should be at this time and blah blah blah. You need to add all of these things. So it's really helpful in that way. I loved releasing the voice notes because I loved hearing those things from artists I like. I crave hearing the demos after devouring the finished songs. So I want to give that to the few people who are into my music.
Yeah, man. We got She Prefers Halifax, I believe was one of the first ones you put out.
Yep.
What do you got to say about She Prefers Halifax?
Yeah, that was a weird one. It's still a weird one. I actually wish it was longer and weirder. It was originally, and I cut it down. I chopped it. But it had this opening really kind of almost horror-esque violin bit, because it was me playing and I don't know how to play violin, so I was only able to make like kind of thriller, like sort of noises. But it worked for the noise thing that I do at the beginning of it anyway. At the end of it, I think it was kind of a little more of a rage acoustic freakout, which would have been interesting as well. But basically, John Critchley was just like, there's enough weirdness on the album, just take it easy. I don't know if that was right, but that's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he kind of reels you in a little bit, huh?
He reeled me in a little bit, and he tried to make the album just a little more palatable, which is ultimately a good thing. He was a huge help in that, and a big part of that was actually, I guess you'll get to the song, but
we'll get to Victor's Bell in a second.
There you go. Well, that one. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool. And man, one of the heavier songs lyrically, from what I can grab onto pretty instantly, This Horse Has Gone Down. You released a little voice memo thing on that one as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how you originally thought of releasing an EP called This Horse, but ended up making the full album and stuff.
Yeah.
So that song's kind of been a big part
kicking
of
around.
Yeah, kicking around. And
I probably had that song in my back pocket when we spoke last time.
Okay. Yeah, man. I mean, I think the opening lyrics, This horse has gone down again because he's tired of living, pulling punches after lunch and taking drugs, right?
Yeah.
Give me more on that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the reason that one is so kind of closer, it hews closer to the standard singer-songwriter, almost country Johnny Cash type lyric.
Yeah, for sure.
Is because the EP was going to go in that direction a little bit. I flirted with that idea a little bit. And when I didn't end up going that way, I still thought it was a great kind of personality, or to use the dressing analogy again, I thought it was a cool kind of fashion for that song, if you will. I thought, add the kind of country singer-songwriter, lean into it, make it that thing, but also try and also have a part of it that it can't just be pastiche, otherwise I wouldn't write it. There needs to be something that sounds original to me, or that kind of like piques my interest as I'm listening to it, and that's part of the melodies that interest me, and it's partially I guess the arrangement. I don't really know what it is about the song. It's another one of those tentpole songs that I think the album would be looked at very differently if that song was not on it. In my opinion, it would come across different.
Yeah, I like it as being one of the ones, like you said, the more straightforward kind of Johnny Cash kind of singer, and just without too much flourishes to it, but lyrically one of the most standout tracks for sure. Use a horse kind of as, where'd the horse come from? Is that kind of in that country vein? Like, what's country? Horse.
Yeah, well, it probably was that simple in my mind. I probably didn't even do the work of thinking that. I probably just went country horse synonymous in my head immediately as I was singing nonsense out of my mouth. That's what most of my lyrics start with initially. It's like mumbles, and then it's, what does that sound like / what else has been rattling around in my head, and then those things come together.
Cool. What's the other song you start off with a horse? Is that She Prefers Halifax, right? Because they're separated by one song, but I always notice that. there's another horse mentioned in there. So it's a little side note.
It's true. I don't know. It just keeps with that theme, basically.
Yeah. All right. And the unmentioned Friends and Dinner. This one I find is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts.
So
okay.
And I missed your face, when you pull into that part, that's very cool. I think that's one of the more fresh kind of melodic shifts you make within the album. Because it's not just melody wise, I guess, but the way you have it opened up into that thing. There's a real
where it's a time change. That's why it feels
okay.
Like
yeah,
opening.
Of course,
That's
the time change. Yes,
4/4 into 3/4, I believe.
Okay.
Sorry, I just gotta move again because my battery is gonna die. But
I
will the charger. Okay.
Spices up the interview.
Exactly. People can see where I live.
You got a place to yourself? Is that what I'm seeing?
No. I live with my roommate.
Okay.
Yeah.
2-bedroom?
Yeah, it's 2-bedroom.
It's okay.
Hopefully this is still good.
Yeah, now pour the coffee and I miss your face. That's real cool.
Cool, I'm glad that you like that.
And this is the one that finishes the pick one. It's one of the first that really was like, oh yeah, there's some catchiness to this track here, and I'll buy it for you. Yeah. So what are you saying in that song?
Well, that one was definitely written in the beginnings of the pandemic. Maybe not even actually. But it's still meant to certainly about kind of exactly what it talks about, wanting to see your friends, those little moments you go, for us especially in BC or Toronto, you go to the cottage with your friends occasionally or whatever, just little visits, and you get to see them, and those things mean so much. What I thought was interesting, or what I think is interesting about the song, I don't know if it's really clear because I didn't do a great job of making it clear enough, unfortunately. But there are two things going on in that part that you were just singing. There's a lead kind of vocal and there's a backing vocal. And the lead vocal is going, pick one, pick one, pick one.
Yeah.
I'll buy it for you, or whatever. And the background vocal is what was originally going to be the main bridge, which is sometimes, it's something like sometimes at night I feel a certain kind of way. And it's meant to be when you talk to your friend and you're sharing with them this private emotion, like, I don't know, something's up, like something is significant with me, and you get into this late night discussion of more significant things. It's meant to pair that with the fun, pick one, blah, blah, blah. Okay. It's meant to be kind of a contrast.
Okay.
Yeah. Thought I'd explain that.
I mean, I think you mentioned there, like, you didn't make it clear enough in the song, and I didn't pick apart the lyrics, but your music is able to be, it's like you're clear and stuff, but that's the thing with songs, I guess. It is hard to pick apart lyrics, so I end up just, it's cool to be able to just be like, yo, what the hell is the song about? And it might seem so obvious after you tell me. It's like, oh yeah, I guess so.
No, but I love that, because when people listen to music, first of all, they're listening to, they just hear the atmosphere. First of all, they're like, cool, this is the genre. But then they're also usually just focused on the melody and the sound of it. And then they pick up one or two song lyrics, and that's what informs the atmosphere. So you heard horse on two of these different songs, right? And that immediately conjures this characteristic for the album. Yeah,
man. Interesting.
Yeah,
it's little bits of lyrics that help you remember, oh yeah, I've heard this song before, I remember that line, even though
exactly.
Cool. So we got a pretty one about just the starting of the second half of the album, technically, almost, and I look at it as a bit of a center point in the album, almost like an interlude track in a way. It's one of the shorter ones, though. You keep it pretty short throughout these songs.
Yeah, a bit of a don't bore us, get to the chorus kind of classic thing.
Yeah, I don't mind. I think makes it.
I think brevity is good.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
For sure. So what's the story behind the Pretty One?
I've had a Pretty One since the last album, at least.
Okay.
And it was initially more Well, yeah, I'll explain it. Okay, it's basically about what my ex-girlfriend now used to say to me to kind of help me through any kind of depressive episodes or anxious episodes, and then so.
Okay.
It's kind of an odd thing when I say that now she's an ex-girlfriend, just because when people listen to it now, it will probably sound like a breakup song because some of the lyrics are "come back to me" and things like that. But actually, it's meant to be for people who are in a loving relationship already and are supporting each other, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I mentioned earlier I wanted to pick some instrumentation, and this one at the end of it, you got this guitar, and I was like, how do I describe this guitar? So when I asked you about it, and I wrote vibrating, jangly guitar. It's just towards the end of the song.
Yes.
Not quite the final little bit, but just leading up to that, you got that guitar that really has this extra vibrato to it.
Nailed it. You nailed
cool.
it.
What's going on with that? Is that you on an acoustic or?
It is me on an acoustic guitar doing exactly what you said. I'm super impressed with the ear, basically.
Hey.
That is exactly what it is. Other people thought it was like a machine or something, but yeah, it's an acoustic guitar. And I'm just kind of going like, and then it's delay. That's what's doing the thing.
Yeah, it almost sounded like it, was kind of attached to like a snare drum, vibrating the snare in a way. It's like the vibration.
It's definitely
from
meant
snare,
to have that. Yeah, exactly. It
cool.
has a little bit of the added saturation and like static that is part of it as well.
Is that like a final touch, or is that something you kind of had with you throughout the making of it?
I'm always kind of recording, and by that I mean just sort of playing around with sounds. So I guess I always had it in a way. I'm very used to going down these holes and creating an instrument out of another instrument kind of thing.
Do you have voice memos for some of these other tracks?
Definitely. I have voice memos for every song.
Yeah.
For sure. And plenty of others that didn't make it, and then they're just little things, but
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you plan on releasing any of these other voice memos?
Yeah, definitely. I think even it might be fun if I can ever patch together full versions of the songs based on my voice memos. I would then release them as like a free album or something.
Hey, cool.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
All right, now we got to the Victor's Bell. Yeah, the driven, perky song of the album, an instant standout in that regard.
Barbecue song kind of thing.
Yeah, you could say that. Nice little barbecue song.
Yeah.
The most immediate hook for sure. And this one,
definitely.
I've seen John Critchley definitely encourage you to keep this on the album.
Yes, very much so. Exactly. I wrote it. I was immediately turned off by how catchy it was. I'm not necessarily a snob. It's just I thought there are enough artists making music like this one. Why do I need to add it? But in reality, I finished the song because I liked the song, or a part of me liked the song, and John, took it and made it what it was always supposed to be, which is a slightly peppier song than it was when I gave it to him. And he did that just by adding these kind of like
the claps in there.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think it fits in really well. I don't think it comes off as like, oh, this is too out there.
Good.
It moves with it, and
good. It's a little bit of candy for anybody who made it that far through the album. They get to munch on that, and then they have a few more difficult songs to go.
Yeah. Then we got Kids, which I didn't write any notes about Kids. So the theme with your album is, like I said, the songs are tight. They move, and you're flowing from one song to the next. And then you get Kids and You Stirred, the two longest songs of the album at the end.
Yeah.
Really. And so I want to hear a bit about what these songs are.
Well, Kids, I've had for some time. It's definitely written about basically an actual relationship that I had when going to UBC, and it's a bit of an extension of that song. I can't even remember my own song names anymore. This is brutal. From the first album that people seem to like. It's brutal. Oh, Tender.
Yeah, I was going to say the one you did the alternate version of.
Yes,
Tender.
Exactly. So it's kind of a continuation of the people in Tender.
Okay.
And what about it? That was initially going to start the album. I was going to open with it.
Yeah, I was actually going to. I want to. Before we wrap things up, we'll get to his original track listing you've got.
You've done a lot of research. I'm very impressed.
I was looking at your Insta.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So yeah, I was originally going to have it as the opener, but then I thought, no, I need something a little. Essentially, there's this thing that I go through every time I want to create a new album and the track listing, and it is this. Do I need to start with an opening song that's super catchy? Do I need to start with an opening song that is representative of the album? Do I need to go the Radiohead route, which is apparently start with the most difficult song just to like really set listeners up for what the album will be like, then let the others flow? Or do you just stack the singles at the top? And honestly, I know the way listeners listen these days, so I stacked the singles at the top with Don't tucked in there, and then you get kind of, yes, as you say, the slightly weirder stuff as you go. But I like that stuff just as much. And so Kids is really the tentpole at the end. If Rosie's the first half, then Kids is the tentpole at the end. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And then you close with the big And You Stirred, which is like 2 songs in one, is what I've determined, right?
You are correct.
I was like, oh, this is the piano song. And then it's like, oh, no, it's not just the piano song. But you got that real heavy, deep piano, right? At the first half there. And that's you on the piano?
That's me on the piano. And I don't know if this is cool or not cool, or if it will be interesting to people. I don't know if I could play that song again. I don't really know if I know the chords. It was all over one day, and I just found these chords. I don't know piano that well.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, and I just kind of found these chords that are kind of elliptical, and they just kind of keep circling, and you can add stuff onto it and whatever. And that's what I loved about it. So it created this kind of hypnotic thing, but I don't know. If you asked me to play the chords right now, it would be a long conversation.
That's cool. That's very interesting. It's just like lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, I guess. And then the second half is it is by Water Tower, and I did it as a tribute. So that's their song, Bobcats, and you can hear it on their album. And it was a tribute to having that. Tucking it at the end was essentially thank you for playing across the album.
All right, cool.
Yeah. So I covered my favorite of their songs, basically.
Really interesting.
Yeah, it's a great song. People should check it out. Bobcats. It deserves to be on the radio. I think it's just beautiful.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. You ended the album with a cover, kind of, in a way, and nobody would know. Nobody knows unless.
Nobody knows unless they know this, and also nobody knows it's there if they click off right after the song ends, which is partially what's interesting. I actually wish I'd added more silence to see if people would continue to listen or not.
In between the 2 parts of the song, kind of thing?
Yeah, I wish that I had like a full 2 minutes of silence or something.
Yeah, it definitely flows, but I never even really thought of it much as a moment of silence in between the songs, but I guess
that's exactly my point. I failed in my idea.
I think
but you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it saves me from having to. Yeah, I like that double parter song instead of it just being like, bonus little hidden track at the end. I think what you made out of it,
good,
blended it right into your own in a way.
Exactly.
And yeah, so you had a original track list you had put out back in April, and you had Victor's Bell right up at the top.
What is this gotcha journalism here? Come on.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding completely. Victor's Bell. I wanted to open with something catchy, potentially, like I said.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool. And did you have like an intro to go with that? Because
an intro for the song?
Yeah, it says intro / Victor's Bell.
Ah, yes, I did have an intro. I don't know if I still have it. What was it called? Anyway, it was instrumental, and it was only like 40 seconds, but it was this kind of. It was like a merging of the sounds of wood and machinery. That's what it sounded like to me, and that's what I wanted.
Okay.
That was a potential title for the album, actually. It was Wood and Machinery.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, we got Asleep and Dreaming.
That is what it is. What the hell? Okay. Sorry, that was the intro. Asleep and Dreaming.
Oh, okay.
Or that
So
should
that
have been.
was listed right after the intro, Victor's Bell, and then Asleep and Dreaming. So I don't know if that's
interesting. Wow. See, my
okay.
Unreliable.
Cool. And then you had Kids thrown in early, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
So that was in, and then Judas. You've mentioned Judas is a new song. Is a different. It's the old name for one of the songs, right?
Correct. Exactly. For Caught You on the Throat.
Caught You on the Throat.
Yeah.
Cool. Why'd you call it Judas?
Well, now if you go back and listen to it, it might make a little more sense. This is the thing that I'm realizing is the thing with my music, so I should maybe make ideas more clear, or maybe not. Maybe people like that it's buried 10 feet below the surface. But anyway, the song, if you look at it a certain way, is basically about being an outsider and learning to deal with that. And I, first of all, don't believe in any religion, so I only am using these people as characters that we're familiar with. We're familiar that Judas is the one who betrays Jesus, right? Yeah. So I thought, okay, he's definitely the biggest outsider. What if I looked at him sympathetically and was like, what if he was like I don't know, just some loser trying to get into a group and then he turned and then I don't know. Are people going to think that I'm defending Judas? Maybe. But I just thought it was interesting for a character, basically. And that's
cool, man.
That's where it led me. Yeah.
And then you had this horse, which became This Horse Has Gone Down. Mm-hmm. Right. And a moth.
Yes, that's I teased that, I think, on Instagram as well. Do you have that?
I just have the track list. I don't recall seeing a tease of a moth or anything.
Well, for people, it's on Instagram. I think I put it there. Yeah, it was a full song that I was going to add, but I thought it was too much like, in its vibe, I thought it was too much like the Victor's Bell, so I kept it off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's another catchier one. I really like the song. It's just, it was too much of one flavor together in that album. So maybe I'll release it just as a random one-off, or I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then we had Your Soul.
Yes, that is a song that I've had written since before the first album.
So another one that just didn't end up making it?
Hasn't found a family. That's
cool.
What I think of it, basically.
Yeah. And Tiny Judas Song.
Yeah, that's one that also just hasn't found a home, but it's been rattling around for 2 years or so as well.
What was its connection to Judas Song? Or Judas?
I don't even remember. I think at that point I just thought, you know what, Judas is kind of a cool bit of imagery that's intriguing. I'll do a bit of reading on that and go from there. And it never went anywhere besides this one line, which is just called, it goes, "Good morning, Judas." And it's a few chords that kind of rattle around. I still like the chords, but.
And that's what Tiny Judas Song is, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then you had She Prefers Halifax is the other song that's like, okay, I made the album.
Yeah.
And an outro. So yeah, it's interesting to see the old, what became in the new. You didn't have Friends and Dinner on there, A Pretty One.
Does it say from when that I posted this? When was it?
It was April you posted the original track list, yeah.
Okay.
You didn't have Rosie or Don't.
That was smack dab in the middle of writing/recording, I would say.
Yeah, because you put out your sophomore back in January last year, I guess.
January 30th of 2020.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And then it was right into constructing number 3 here. And
what else did we have to do?
Yeah.
We were all inside, you know?
Your music's...
And we were all inside, and also this is the real thing. I want to just keep striking while the iron is hot. And for me, over the last year, it's just become hotter, essentially. So that's why I'm bang, 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 releasing 3 albums in a year and a half, because I just want to keep people's interest. And I have this amount of material I think is good, you know? I'm lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, man. This album's got me excited. Like I said, I think it's a really big step, and no matter what you do, you feel free to keep switching things up and trying things out. But excited to see what you can put your voice on next, you know?
Yeah, you'll hear it in 6 months, maybe.
Okay, well, keep our eyes open.
Cool.
You doing any little performances, any virtual playing or anything?
Yes, I'm doing one for Radio Humber. Humber's the college's radio station.
Okay, yeah.
April 1st.
Okay. And you just talked to CBC recently?
I did, yeah. That's going to come out, I think, this week, the week of March 1st or whatever we're in. I think that's going to come out this week, and it's for Bedside Books, which is a portion of the next chapter, which is a CBC show, and it's basically where musicians talk about what they're reading and enjoying. It's fun.
Oh, really?
And
yeah.
then they play a song of mine as well. Yeah.
How'd you get hooked up with CBC?
Julie Booth, the unofficial
Yeah,
PR friend of mine who will become official with the EP release. So yeah, lots of good things just kind of cooking.
Cool, man. Are you're reading a book? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm reading a book this year, and yeah, it's My Brilliant Friend, which is an Italian set of novels that came out in the 90s and then were made into the HBO series.
Oh,
recently.
okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
They're very good.
You start using Crave more.
Yeah, exactly. A little shout out to Crave.
Yeah.
Crave sponsorship on this.
My friend hooked me up with his account for a little bit, but
Oh, nice.
I think I got blocked out or something.
I'll give you my Crave. I don't care.
Oh, nice. Well, we'll keep in touch about that.
There we go.
Cool, man. Didn't have much else in mind, but I think you got to get back to work pretty shortly here anyway.
Unfortunately, yes, I think so. It's what time is it? I can't actually see. Oh yeah,
just after 1. Yeah, I got to eat some breakfast.
Okay.
It's early here, and I'm trying to go without coffee. We just hit a new month, and I'm gonna see if I can.
Good for you.
Take a coffee break, maybe.
I've got my coffees down to 1 medium per day. That's it, which is very good because before I was really not drinking water unless it was through coffee. So
Yeah.
Things are better now, but
like 3 was a good day for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Okay, cool, man. Okay.
All right, Alex Southey.
Awesome.
This is fun.
Yeah, absolutely.